Buffalo Bills are coming to town, and with the joint practice kicking off tomorrow, there's a lot of buzz around what to expect when these two teams collide ahead of preseason game number 2. And look, while Sunday's matchup will give us a better glimpse into how the starters are coming along, this joint practice could end up being even more revealing. There's something about putting two rosters on the same field with no play clock, no crowd, no referees, just pure competition. And for the Chicago Bears, there are several burning questions that need some answers. Let's start in the trenches because that left tackle spot has been an absolute roller coaster. Just a couple weeks ago, it looked like a two-man race. Then it turned into 3. And now it looks like 4 guys are legitimately in the mix. The biggest surprise of all has to be Theo Benedict, the Canadian prospect who's been slowly climbing up the ranks. At first, he looked like a long shot to even make the roster, but now he's splitting first-team reps with Braxton Jones. That's not a small development. When you get a guy like that getting real looks with the starters, it means one thing: nobody has locked this job down. The coaches are clearly sending a message here. If you want the job, go take it. Because none of the tackles have done enough to make the decision easy for the staff. Benedict has shown consistency, improvement, and the kind of work ethic that's hard to ignore. And with Kieran Amagashi just now getting back from injury and currently buried with the third team, it feels like this might be more than just a camp flyer for Benedict. This could be a real shot. We'll learn a lot more based on the rep split during Friday's session. Who gets those prime first-team snaps? That'll tell us everything we need to know about where this race stands as we pass the halfway point of the preseason. Switching gears, and speaking of quarterbacks, let's talk about Caleb Williams versus Josh Allen. Now, no one in their right mind is saying Caleb is already at that level. Josh Allen is the reigning MVP for a reason. He's a top-tier NFL quarterback with a resume that speaks for itself. Multiple deep playoff runs, a trip to the AFC Championship. And honestly, if it weren't for that guy named Patrick Mahomes, Allen might already have a Super Bowl ring. He's dragged the Buffalo Bills from laughingstock to perennial contender. He's changed the franchise. He's changed the narrative. He's everything the Bears hope Caleb Williams can become. But let's also not forget how Josh Allen got here. It didn't happen overnight. His first 2 seasons were rocky, to put it nicely. The talent was there, the arm, the athleticism, the size, but the decision-making, the accuracy, it was a mess. It wasn't until year 3 that everything started to click. So let's pump the brakes a little before we start throwing stones at Caleb, just because he's not lighting up every practice session. The truth is, he's probably further along right now than Allen was at the same point in his career. And while that doesn't mean Caleb is destined to follow the exact same path, it does serve as a reminder that growth in the NFL is rarely linear. It takes time, reps, coaching, and patience. But what will be fascinating during this joint practice is just seeing how Caleb stacks up across the field from a guy like Allen. No, it's not a game. No, it doesn't count in the standings. But when you're sharing the same space, going through similar drills, testing yourself against the same defense, you get a sense of where you stand. Even if the playbooks are vanilla, the competition is real. And if you're Caleb Williams, this is the kind of measuring stick moment that can light a fire inside. You want to go throw for throw with Josh Allen? Let's see it. Let's see how you command the huddle. Let's see how you handle pressure. Let's see how you adjust when a defense throws a look you haven't seen before. It's practice, but it's not just another day at Hallis Hall. Now, with that in mind, there's another huge factor that's going to play into this week, and that's the state of the secondary. Jalen Johnson and KYLER Gordon are both out. That's your CB1 and your top nickel corner. So this is a golden opportunity for the rest of the depth chart to make their case. Terrell Smith is back. Tariq Stevenson is pushing hard. Then you've got names like Josh Blackwell, Nick McLeod, and even undrafted guys fighting for those final roster spots. This week could separate the contenders from the pretenders. And the Bills might not have a true superstar wide receiver right now, but they've got depth. Keon Coleman is a big-bodied rookie with a ton of upside. Khalil Shakir has quietly become one of their most dependable targets, especially in the slot. Curtis Samuel adds versatility. Josh Palmer can stretch the field. Elijah Moore brings route running and quickness. Then you throw in Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox at tight, and in James Cook coming out of the backfield. and suddenly you've got a lot of different looks to defend. This is going to test the Bears' defensive backfield in a big way. Can Stevenson rise to the moment? Can someone unexpected make a couple of splash plays? Because with Johnson and Gordon on the sideline, someone's got to step up. On the offensive side of the ball, all eyes are on DJ Moore. And here's the thing. No one's hitting the panic button, but it's been a little too quiet. We know what kind of player Moore is. He's a legitimate number one receiver. He's making $27 million per year for a reason. But through camp so far, he hasn't exactly been stealing the spotlight. In fact, guys like Rome Oduns and Olamide Zekos are getting more headlines. Even tight ends like Cole, Cam E.T., and rookie standout Colston Loveland are getting mentioned more often when it comes to splash plays. Now look, this isn't a referendum on DJ Moore's talent. He's proven. He's consistent. But for a guy with that kind of resume, you'd like to see him make some noise, especially in a competitive environment like this joint practice. These are the moments where your stars should shine. Go catch 5 or 6 balls. Make a couple of highlight reel grabs. Remind everyone on the field exactly who you are. It doesn't have to be flashy. It doesn't have to be forced. But when you're watching these reps play out and you're seeing Caleb starting to build chemistry with guys not named DJ Moore, yeah, it raises an eyebrow. Again, no panic, but it's definitely something worth watching. Now, let's shift back to the other side of the ball, because another big test coming this week is for the run defense. Against Miami in their last joint session, the Bears were mostly stout up front, but the plays they did give up, yeah, they came on the ground. And now you've got a Bills team that may not be known for pounding the rock, but they've got a run game that can catch you off guard. James Cook is a legit back. They've got depth behind him. And don't forget, Josh Allen is always a threat to tuck it and run if things break down. And that leads into one final point here. With the starters expected to actually play on Sunday, this joint practice could look a little different. Last week, it was all ones all the time. But this time around, with live game reps coming just 2 days later, don't be surprised if we see more of the depth chart getting involved. The coaching staff might want to protect some of their key guys, keep them fresh, and take the opportunity to evaluate those roster bubble players in a high-intensity environment. That means more reps for the backups, more competition, and maybe even a few surprise performances. So as we roll into this crucial part of training camp, the questions are mounting. Who takes control of that left tackle job? Can Caleb Williams hold his own in a duel of arms against Josh Allen? Which cornerbacks seize the moment with 2 starters out? Will DJ Moore reassert himself as WR1? And can this front 7 put the clamps on a sneaky good Bills run game? It's all on the table this week. And if you're a Bears fan, this is where you start separating hype from reality. The pads are on. The competition is real. Let's see who rises. And if we're being honest, this joint practice might offer even more insight than the preseason game itself. That's just how these sessions work. The coaching staff has way more control over the pace, the matchups, the situations they want to see. There are no media timeouts, no clock running down, no special teams watering down the reps. It's just raw football, one-on-one, group installs, red zone drills, 3rd and long scenarios. And for the players, these reps matter. It's their audition, their resume, their chance to stand out not only to their own coaches, but to any scout or front office watching the tape. Every snap tells a story, and when the tempo is high and the pads are cracking, you learn who's ready to contribute when it counts. That's why so many eyes will be locked in on Caleb Williams and his poise under pressure. Everyone knows he's got the talent. The arm talent is special. The off-platform throws, the pocket mobility, the instincts, they've all shown up in flashes. But now it's about consistency. Against a defense that doesn't belong to him, with a defensive coordinator dialing up coverages specifically to throw him off rhythm, this is the closest thing to a real game until Sunday night. It's one thing to make reads when you know the look. It's a whole different challenge when you're facing a defense that doesn't follow your script. That's why seeing how Caleb handles those post-snap adjustments, those disguised blitzes, those bait coverages, it'll tell us where he really is in his development. And it's not just about Caleb's performance. It's also about how this offensive line holds up when the lights get brighter. As much as we've talked about the left tackle battle, and rightfully so, the interior of the line has to show up as well. If Caleb doesn't have a clean pocket, his progress means nothing. And against Buffalo's defensive front, which includes big-time names like Ed Oliver and Gregory Rousseau, the Bears' O-line is going to get tested in ways that vanilla preseason matchups just don't replicate. Can they communicate through stunts and twists? Can the guards and center pick up the disguise pressure? This is where we find out if this line is truly ready to protect the franchise. What also makes this practice so valuable is how many evaluations can be made without ever looking at the scoreboard. It's not about who wins the practice. It's about who wins their rep, who runs the better route, who finishes through contact, who plays through the whistle, who gets their hands inside first on the line. These little things stack up. For example, if Darnell Mooney is working against a second-string corner and he doesn't separate, you notice that. Or if a guy like Terrell Smith is matching up with Khalil Shakir and consistently getting beat on slants and outs, that's going to raise a red flag. These are the moments when roster spots are earned or lost. And we can't ignore the physicality that's going to come with this practice. Last week, things got chippy between Chicago and Miami. There were moments where the emotion boiled over. Coaches stepped in. Helmets flew. That's the nature of joint practices. You spend so much time hitting your own teammates during camp that once you finally get the green light to hit someone else, the intensity spikes. And that's not a bad thing. In fact, it's welcomed as long as it doesn't cross the line. So expect some sparks, expect some energy, and maybe even expect a few scuffles. That's how you know guys care. That's how you know the reps matter. One player who could benefit massively from this setting is rookie Rome Odunze. The chemistry he's building with Caleb Williams is legit. Every day in camp, he seems to be on the receiving end of another highlight reel throw. The trust is forming. The route timing is starting to sink. And with DJ Moore drawing CB1 attention, even if he's not making the noise yet, Rome has a real shot to continue carving out a significant role in this offense. And what's more, against a Bills defense that disguises coverage well and plays fast at the second level, Odunze's ability to find space and settle in his soft zones could be a real weapon. If he keeps making plays in joint practices and carries that momentum into preseason games, don't be shocked if he's WR2 by the start of the season. The talent is that real. Another name that deserves more love heading into this matchup is TJ Tampa. He's had an underrated camp. Steady, physical, smart. Not a lot of flash, but not a lot of mistakes either. With Jalen Johnson sidelined, he could get a ton of run in the first team against a wide range of receiver types. And if he can hang with bigger body guys like Keon Coleman or shiftier slot types like Curtis Samuel, it'll go a long way in solidifying his place in the rotation. You want versatility in your secondary, and right now, Tampa is showing he might be able to offer just that. Let's also talk about the tight ends for a moment, because Cole Kmet is as steady as they come. But what's catching people off guard is how often Caleb is looking to Colston Loveland. The rookie has been one of the most targeted players in camp, and it's not just dump-offs and safety throws. Caleb is finding him in the seams, on intermediate routes, on broken plays. There's clearly a trust there, and if Loveland keeps showing reliable hands and route polish, it wouldn't be a surprise if the Bears lean into more two tight end sets, especially since Robert Tonyan hasn't exactly stood out this summer. The league is shifting back toward heavy personnel, and if Loveland is that second guy, it gives the offense a ton of flexibility. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. After a controversial move that has left the football world buzzing with speculation and intrigue, Bears head coach Ben Johnson reportedly made the startling decision to remove cornerback KYLER Gordon from the team. While official statements remain sparse, insiders suggest the expulsion stems from an incident whose details have yet to be fully disclosed, sparking a whirlwind of rumors across social media platforms, sports news outlets, and locker room chatter. The timing of this decision, coming in the midst of a crucial stretch of the season, has fueled speculation that internal tensions may have been simmering for months, potentially involving disagreements over team strategy, personal conduct, or differences in professional philosophies between Johnson and Gordon. Analysts and former players are already weighing in, with some suggesting that Johnson's authoritarian approach to team discipline may have reached a boiling point, forcing him to make a high-profile example out of Gordon. Meanwhile, fans are divided, with some praising the coach's decisive leadership and others criticizing what they perceive as an impulsive reaction that could destabilize team morale. The broader implications of this move are still uncertain, but one thing is clear. The Bears' locker room dynamics have been irrevocably altered, leaving observers to wonder whether this decision signals a deeper shift in the organization's culture or simply represent a dramatic, isolated episode that may or may not define the remainder of the season. Speculation about the motives behind Ben Johnson's decision to remove KYLER Gordon from the Bears has intensified, as no concrete explanation has been provided beyond vague references to a team-related incident. Rumors suggest that the disagreement may have involved on-field behavior, off-field controversies, or perhaps even clashes with other members of the coaching staff or roster. Observers point to the timing of the expulsion as particularly suspect, given that it coincides with a stretch in which the Bears have struggled to maintain consistency in both defense and overall performance. Sports commentators have begun dissecting game footage and player interactions in search of clues, while social media users are circulating unverified accounts claiming insider knowledge of heated exchanges during practice sessions and team meetings. The buzz surrounding the story has sparked a flood of opinion pieces, hot takes, and debates, each presenting theories that range from plausible disagreements over play calling to more sensational claims of personality conflicts and locker room power struggles. In addition to analyzing the immediate impact on team chemistry, many analysts are speculating about the longer-term ramifications, including potential ripple effects on contract negotiations, draft strategies, and player retention. While the Bears organization has remained tight-lipped, the persistent chatter ensures that KYLER Gordon's departure will remain a talking point for weeks, if not months, leaving the football community eager for any hint of clarification or confirmation of the underlying reasons. The football world is also abuzz with speculation about how KYLER Gordon's expulsion could influence the Bears' performance for the remainder of the season, as defensive cohesion and morale are key factors in the team's ability to compete at a high level. Analysts have been quick to point out that Gordon, despite being relatively young in his career, has shown flashes of exceptional skill, particularly in coverage and in key situational plays that can shift the momentum of a game. His sudden absence raises questions about whether the Bears have the depth to compensate for his loss, or if this move could signal a turning point in how the team approaches roster management and defensive schemes. Rumors have circulated about possible replacements, trade opportunities, and even internal reshuffling of player responsibilities as coaches scramble to maintain stability and ensure the team remains competitive in a highly contested division. Fans are divided in their reactions, with some expressing support for Johnson's tough love philosophy and others lamenting the apparent loss of a talented player who could have been integral to the Bears' long-term plans. Amid all the speculation, sports journalists are continuing to probe sources close to the team for any additional insights, eager to uncover whether this decision represents a temporary disciplinary measure, a permanent severance, or part of a broader, more strategic restructuring effort that may reshape the franchise's trajectory for years to come. Adding to the swirling rumors, insiders have suggested that Ben Johnson's decision to expel KYLER Gordon may not have been entirely unilateral, hinting that other coaching staff members or senior players may have influenced or supported the move. Some reports suggest a growing rift between Gordon and certain teammates, with alleged friction arising from differences in leadership styles, practice habits, or personal attitudes toward team rules and expectations. While these claims remain unconfirmed, they have further fueled speculation about an underlying culture clash that could have contributed to the dramatic decision. Media outlets are dissecting Johnson's public statements, scrutinizing past press conferences and interviews for subtle indications of tension, while fan forums and social media channels continue to circulate varying accounts, many of which paint a picture of a locker room environment under stress. If true, these dynamics might indicate that Gordon's departure is part of a larger effort by Johnson to assert authority and establish a specific standard of discipline and accountability within the team. Alternatively, skeptics argue that the move could backfire, potentially alienating other players who may feel threatened or undervalued, thereby undermining morale rather than reinforcing it. Regardless of the ultimate motivation, the expulsion has set off a firestorm of discussion and conjecture, ensuring that the story remains one of the most talked about developments in professional football, with fans and pundits alike watching closely for any follow-up developments that could clarify the situation. Finally, the long-term impact of Kyler Gordon's sudden exit from the Bears is a subject of intense speculation, as observers weigh potential scenarios ranging from immediate trade opportunities to unexpected career pivots for the player. Analysts are debating whether Gordon might seek a fresh start with another team, perhaps leveraging his skills to negotiate a more favorable contract or a starting role elsewhere, while others argue that the controversy could temporarily hinder his market value and reputation within the league. Concurrently, the Bears' management faces scrutiny for how they will navigate this highly publicized situation, balancing team discipline against the risk of public backlash or internal dissent. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.